Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com. Okay, so we're using an upbeat song today about a subject that is probably pretty sad, but I'm at a point now where I kind of refuse to just put a lot of sadness out there, because the more realizations you have, the lighter and brighter your world becomes. Okay, before I turn the music down, which I will, I know it's kind of loud right now, but it's kind of uplifting. I think that's a good thing. I want to talk about something that I do that I think is different from a lot of teachers, YouTube channels, everyone out there. It's something that I sought at a very young age because, okay, so here's what I don't do. I don't like to give advice. I don't like to tell people what to do with their life. Now, part of NLP, part of our presuppositions for our own teachings and being and the way that we interact is, I'm not here to tell you who to be, what to be, or how to be. I'm not here to tell you how to live your life or tell you what morals or values to live by. I'm just here to facilitate, to help you to become the person that you truly are on the inside, the core you, to clear out all the negative stuff that's been put upon you by society, by lies, by rules, by stuff that's been put on you, like even beliefs that are causing massive conflict inside you, okay? So my thing is to help you clear up that stuff that really isn't who you are, to help you find out, well, who are you and what do you want to do with your life? And then the next step is to help you to become and or to achieve what it is that you want to achieve, whether it's overcoming fear, overcoming anxiety, reaching a goal, setting goals in a way that is effective, etc., etc. In a class I took in college called Applied Psychology, he was probably one of my favorite professors. He was just a really down-to-earth, loving, caring, just a good person, very comfortable to be around. And he brought up an example that helped me to kind of how do I say this? It was like a core teaching or a core understanding that helped me. Like, this is how I approach everything. He simply said, we're not here to tell people what to do, how to do it, or who to be, etc. He goes, everyone was born or had at one time, whether it was before the womb, after the womb, in the womb, when you were just you, just the core you, pure 100%. He said what happened is you come into the world, you get scared. Well, that puts a little dirt on the outside. And he said, imagine you're just this white, pure ball of energy and love and all the good stuff. So essentially what he said is, people will lie to you. People will tell you beliefs that are not true or don't support you or whatever. So you were raised and you're just when you are first born, your first stage between 0 and about 6.5, 7 years old, that's the imprinting stage. You just imprint. People tell you what to believe, boom, that's what we believe. I was born in this country, I was born in this family, in my country, this is what we believe. This is our values. This is the way it is. These are our strategies. This is how we do things. So these are like core beliefs, core rules, core strategies that you're raised with, and they're just, it's how to explain it? It's like they're downloaded into you, like your mom and dad do that. Your imprinting is just copying. You're videotaping it, you're audio taping it, you're recording it, and you're just taking it on without any external thought. So therapy is essentially when you have beliefs that are in conflict, like everyone tells you, be wealthy, be successful, work hard so you can have a good life. And then you go to church and they say money's the root of all evil, and boom, there's this conflict there. And then 5 minutes later, the very person that's been telling you money's the root of all evil will tell you, hey, you need to work hard, you got to go make money, you got to get a degree, you got to, be wealthy and set up your future. And yet you have this massive conflict inside, and you never stop and go, wait a minute, 5 minutes ago you just said money's the root of all evil. Why would I go make money? That just doesn't make any sense. And right there is where you should start catching stuff. And the other thing is, the truth of the matter is, number one, that is not the truth. Number two, the truth of it is not even taught correctly. So the truth is, so let's call this number two, it says the love of money is the root of all evil. Well, now you have to go back, and you won't even think of this until someone points it out. You have to look up, what did it mean when it said the love of money? You have to go back to the original language that it was translated from. So number one, it means putting it above your happiness, putting it above your health, putting it above God, putting it above your family, putting it above your love, above joy. And yeah, of course, that's going to screw everything up. And here's the other thing. It means to worship this God. I can't remember the name right now. Hold on. Okay, I looked up something that came up, and it was a Greek thing, Pluto, and then it said Mammon. Now, I believe Mammon is the one when you do the translation correctly. So my point is like, I don't know a single person's ever prayed to the God of Mammon. That's what it means when it says money is the root of all evil. When it says the love of money is the root of all evil, that means as if you worship it, and then you worship this deity or whatever called Mammon. Because also in the Old Testament, God is constantly telling people to be prosperous, to be wealthy, to be abundant. He even went on to teach you different ways. There's one way is you put 10% aside, never touch it. You donate 10%. You take another 10% and you pay off your debt, such as your credit card bills, etc., that you're over debt. And then the other 10% is for happiness, for fun. Just go and spend it freely. Go buy clothes, go shopping, whatever, and then live off the 60%. So it's the 60, 10, 10, 10, 10 rule. If you do that, when you come into hard times, like, well, the money that you're donating, the money that you're just wildly spending, and the money that you're investing, you can now take that 30% and put it towards staying alive, keeping a roof over your head, putting food on the table. So, and not only that, but even if bad times don't come, you have all this money saved up and invested, etc., etc. And on top of it, you're paying off your bills. So life just becomes really fun. So there's another place in the Old Testament in the Bible. And by the way, that teaching I just taught you was from the Old Testament, from God. There's another one where he teaches, I can't remember one of the great, I don't think it was Noah, but it was someone like a pretty big name in the Bible. And he has a herd of sheep, and God said, hey, put this fence up and strip this off or do it like this. And what it did when the sheep's eyes saw it, it caused their fur, I forget what it's called, the stuff that they shear off, to be a certain color or to change, and therefore it'll be more valuable, and therefore they'll be prosperous, or it caused them to breed more or whatever, and it caused him to be more prosperous. So my point is this. I know I totally messed up that story. I'd have to go back and look it up, but that's not what this video is about. The point is, God clearly wants us to live an abundant, prosperous life, yet most Christians feel so guilty about making money. Now, there have been a couple movies about the devil saying, and there's even that one TV show which I actually like because there's a lot of teachings in it. It's that one English actor, funny guy. Can't think of the name of the TV show right now. But he goes, well, why would God do this and put everything in conflict? Even Al Pacino in that movie with Keanu Reeves said this. He goes, God says, look, but you can't touch. God says, make money, but money is evil. He didn't say that, but I'm kind of ad-libbing right here. But that's what happens. You think, well, this doesn't make sense. Like, why is there so much conflict? Because you were lied to. God never said that stuff. Number one, God never said money's the root of all evil. The Christian people sitting in the pews next to you. Now, I don't mean everybody. I remember I brought this to Pastor Rex, and he goes, Michael, I know it doesn't say that. It says the love of money. He goes, Michael, we just went over this 5 times this year already. I was like, oh, that's right, you did. He really broke down what the love of money meant. It did not mean that money is bad. It meant as if you put it above everything, and everything I just taught you. I'm not going to go over that again. He told me, he goes, Michael, you've got to stop listening to people in the pews. How many times have I told you this? They're not digging deep. They're not getting to the root of the matter. So fine, here you are. You have a logical understanding of this. The problem is it's stuck on the emotional level, on a deeper level. So as a therapist, coach, healer, whatever you want to call this, as he was saying, he's like, as my professor said in college, he's like, you were this pure being, and someone came along and lied to you. Oh, money's the root of all evil. Oh, you're just greedy. Oh, you're just this. And all this stuff, all this mucky stuff gets kind of like, imagine a white crystal ball of pure energy, and you're this pure energy, and all these lies and these shameful things are kind of mucked up. It's like mud and dirt being put all the way around this thing, and after a while, The real you is covered up. My job is not to change you. My job, number one, is to clear this stuff up, to heal it, to clear it off, to wipe it off, to bring out the core you, this bright, white, clear crystal light. And that's done on a therapeutic level using a lot of different techniques and understandings. Other than that, it's about what you want out of life. And then, okay, what's keeping you from having that? Well, I have this belief, or I have this limiting belief, or I have this conflict. I want it, but I was taught blah, 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 and I feel bad, or I feel shame, or I feel guilt. So my goal is not to sit there and tell you what to buy, what to own, what your goals should be. My job is, okay, so what's keeping you from having that? Okay, well, let's clear that up. So now, pretty much what this video is about is core teachings versus taking advice. Or giving advice is what I should have said. So a lot of people have came to my channel from years and years of being on other channels, and it's like, man, that makes so much sense. I understand that now. So a lot of people that talk about narcissist abuse, teach about, or even people that are coaches, they may have gone through it themselves. They may have watched a lot of videos, read books about it, and learned about it, but they don't understand the core patterns beneath why narcissists do these tactics. Like, why did they do this? Like, what is behind this? What causes this? So when you come to my channel, that's what I teach. I teach you the core patterns, what creates the core patterns, and how these core patterns will create these tactics and strategies that narcissists use. And then you get a clear view of it. See, if I just sit there and give you all these red flags, and if you notice on my channel, I don't really teach a lot of red flags. I don't teach a lot of the things. I don't start from the beginning of here's what love bombing is, and here's the steps within, and then here's the devaluing phase, and here's the step. There's a lot of steps in between. I just recently made one. I literally about 5 days ago or so, I made one about invalidation, which is the second phase of narcissist abuse, of devaluing. So that's one piece in there. There's a series of pieces in there that I mentioned but didn't even break down. Here's why. If you are looking for these hundreds and thousands of different, literally thousands of different red flags, you're going to get lost. You're literally going to get lost in the forest. What I would rather do is go deeper and show you the core pieces. So this one core piece, here's what it is: A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Now that you can see that, you can see everything that is created from that without having to be taught this 150 different things, tactics, and strategies they can do. If I show you the core piece, you can see something without me ever having to teach it to you. So seeing the core pieces is relieving. It simplifies everything. So that's why when people come to my channel, like, I don't understand why, but I understand things better the way you teach it. It's because I'm showing you something behind the scenes. A lot of that has to do with just my makeup. This is the way I was born. I've always, even at a very young age in boxing, when I was a little kid, when I was like 8 years old, I wanted to understand, why am I getting hit in the head all the time? Like, what's going on? And I literally on accident took a big step back to see the bigger picture. Now, at the time, I couldn't write down, oh, I stepped back to see the bigger picture. I went into peripheral vision and I dropped my awareness back internal. I didn't logically know that, but I did know that, okay, this works a lot better. I accidentally stumbled upon a core pattern that helped me suddenly become the state champion within 9 months. I wasn't bigger than the other guys. I didn't have more strength or power. I wasn't faster. I didn't have longer arms. I didn't have any advantage. I was always the smaller, shorter guy. But that one key that some boxers never learn until they become a pro or become really, really good at the amateurs, because I saw that one key at a very early age, I started learning other things. I started seeing other patterns. And that became my way of going through life, whether it was in math, English, science, or anything. And that's another thing that as I got older, as I was literally watching Floyd Mayweather's father teaching him something. His father was getting mad, and I'm like, here he was. Floyd was doing it perfectly, exactly the way it was supposed to be done. And his father's like, no, you're still not seeing it. I'm like, seeing what? What are you talking about? And as he began to teach, he was like, Oh, I see. Because it's like if you have all these external techniques, you don't see the core patterns and you're still going to get knocked out. It's the same way with narcissist abuse. It's the same way with love. I mean, how many times have you heard someone, let's say a man who was going through a divorce or got divorced, and he's upset, he's hurt, he's sad, and he goes, I did everything right. I did A, B, C, D. Yeah, you did all the external steps correct, but you completely missed the core piece. I truly believe this is what life is all about, seeing the core pieces, okay? And I'll tell you why. Everything becomes simple. See, you look at a lot of the experts and pros at stuff, whether it's sports, whether it's Steve Jobs, you know, you're looking at that, like a lot of people to this day can't understand why Steve Jobs was so popular, so famous. It's because he was a very right-brained being. He saw how the pieces fit together. Whereas, what's the guy that actually built the computer? I mean, the guy that designed it for Apple. Here, let me look him up. Hold on. It was Steve Wozniak. Now I literally just on accident proved my own point. I love Apple computers. I know the history. I've watched the movie. I watched the TV show, and I've even heard and watched and listened to Wozniak speak probably 50 times. And I still don't remember who the guy is, but I remember Steve Jobs. You know, that's a good example. Another thing I learned in life, you could be the absolute best at whatever you do, but if you do not know how to market it, if you do not know how to get it to the public, it doesn't matter. If there was no Steve Jobs and there was no replacement for him and Wozniak was the head CEO, I guarantee you never would have heard of Apple computers. I had a football coach. He joined us my senior year in high school, a phenomenal defensive coach. He was invited to be the head coach of a professional football team, and I think he was the head coach of, not the head coach, but a defensive coach, defensive coordinator. The guy was just phenomenal, and somehow we got him because he was in between jobs because he got in an argument with whatever, and he said F you, and he took off. But he came and worked with us my senior year, and because of that, we won the section championships. It was a big deal. So in college, he happened to be a gym coach there, and he wasn't coaching football that year. He was he was in between. And so one day it was raining, and I wasn't in the mood to lift. Hey, Mike, let's talk. So we kind of talked, and I wonder if he did this on purpose to help me out. Now, this is probably the second or third year of NLP trainings and Tony Robbins stuff that I've been going through. And the reason why I'm saying that is because NLP is all about revealing the hidden patterns, the core patterns. And it for sure prepared me for this conversation, because I guarantee if you would have tried to explain this to me before I learned this stuff and was taught how to look for him, see him, I would have been looking at the coach like he was speaking Greek. So we're in the weight room, and I remember we were by the door. I think his desk was by the door, and the door was open. We're looking at the rain, and he said, "Remember that one play in the section game? Blah blah blah. So and so crashed down and did this and did that." I'm like, "Yeah." He essentially said, "You know what the other team's offense did was absolutely genius." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Because we actually stopped him on the play. He goes, "Yeah, but the only reason why we did it is because so-and-so actually messed up on his assignment. He was supposed to go the other way, but because he got it mixed up and went the other way, he accidentally stopped the play." And he goes, "If it wasn't for that, they would have scored." I'm like, "Okay." So he goes, so I said, "So what was so genius about it?" So I'm not going to explain it to you because it's a bit complicated. But he said, what they did was they lined this guy, I don't know if he said the guard or whatever, like this. And then what they did, the guard pulled, and then he went right. And then the quarterback did a 5-step drop, and then he did a fake pause to the left, and then he did this. And then the running back, he paused, but then he went and did a loop out to the flats. And he described, I'm like, wait, stop. And then he described what the right tackle did. He described what the right receiver did. He goes, "Michael," and I'm looking at this guy like, "Wait, you saw all that?" Oh, I go, "Oh, you mean you played back the video and you went over it again?" He goes, "Oh no, because that's the last game of the season. You don't need to look at the videos for the next game." And he goes, "Oh no." He goes, "I saw it when it happened." And I go, "That's impossible." He goes, "What do you mean?" And so then I go, "How could you possibly see all of that in a split second, because once they hike that ball, everyone's going 100 miles an hour. Everyone's twisting, turning, crashing, smashing, sprinting, reversing. It's just you can't, and it's on a football field. How can you see all of this at once? He then leaned back and went into peripheral vision right before he described it. Number one, like I did in boxing, he took a step back and he saw the bigger picture, so he saw all the pieces moving. Number two, he said, because Michael, by the rules, if the guard does this or if the tackle does that, there's only 3 to 5 other options. So if this person does this and then this guy does that, then by rule, they can only do this or that. And therefore, I knew the quarterback had to do this, and then the other guard or tight end had to line up this way and had to do this. He goes, otherwise, they would have got a penalty. And I go, how do you know that? He goes, well, Michael, I've been doing football since I was a kid. He goes, you kind of figure it out. Now, this guy had a college degree, and he said, Michael, haven't you noticed that there's core patterns in everything? I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, let's take math class, for example. If you go further enough in math, even though you go from algebra 2 to trigonometry to whatever, he goes, you start seeing core basic patterns in everything. And I thought, yeah, okay, I'm with you on that. He goes, Michael, haven't you noticed that if you focus on any profession or any skill set for any length of time, over a period of time, you start seeing the patterns, and the patterns simplify everything. See, I forget who said this. It might have even been Steve Jobs, but someone said, you guys think that these people are geniuses and that they're just these amazing people. He goes, no. They've just been involved long enough and been focused long enough and paying attention that they started to see the core patterns. And that's like the coach said to me. He goes, at this point, there's only 3 to 5 things they can do. And I'm like, what? Because in my mind as a football player, it's like 100,000 million different things people can do. And like how can you, football to me up until that day was confusing. Okay, last night, so I've been, as I told you about 2-3 weeks ago, I'm re-listening to my NLP home study program tapes. It takes a long time to go through all of them, probably taking about a year. And I'm re-listening to a point where Dr. Tad James said, well, Richard Bandler during his training said, he goes, all I'm doing is submodalities. He goes, that's it. He goes, I'm not doing anything else. Now, as someone who's an NLP trainer, my first thought, oh, that's impossible. What are you talking about? All right, I'm going to give you one that I discovered years ago. I realized it just seemed like every single client I was working with, all I'm doing is shifting their perspective. That's all I'm doing. And I thought, that's just so weird. It's been like this for a couple of years now. How come? Well, every technique you use shifts someone's perspective. It's not like some big thing. And then I realized it became really simple. All I'm doing with people is getting them to see it from multiple perspectives and picking one that is going to help them to shift, and one that they like, one that's going to work best for them. That was one of the core patterns, and that pattern helped me to calm down, because it was kind of like football. It was hectic, it was chaotic, I was scared every time I had a new client. Now I'm like, all I'm doing is shifting their submodalities and shifting their perspective. I'm just doing a couple things. Now in NLP, there is literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of techniques, and it's hard to remember all of them. You go back to your manual, you look at your cheat sheet cards, etc., etc. And when I realized, no, you're doing it the other way around. It's not the rules are set up. How to explain this? It's not that you have to follow the rules. The rules were guidelines to simplify things for you. So now I'm looking at all the tactics or the football plays, right? Because there's just probably 10,000 different plays you could do. I don't know how many, but there's just insane amount. How do you remember? You don't memorize them. You realize you get to pick and choose whatever tactics or techniques you want to use to help people to shift, to help you win the game. It's not the other way around. And this is what society has wrong. People want to give you all this different advice, and yet you don't understand why they're giving it to you, why it's going to work or why it won't work when you do it. So you're walking there blindly going, well, Mike says to do this, okay. Okay, let's take the dating relationship coaching, right? Well, There was a big thing back in the early 2000s to about mid 2000s of called the pickup artists. They threw all these techniques at these guys and say this and say that, and memorize this and memorize that. Now me, I have a really hard time memorizing stuff. I don't like to memorize stuff. I can, but I don't like to. So I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. So instead what I do is I teach men how to open up to the right brain. I teach them how to speak the female language so women can understand them, can relate to them, and can connect to them emotionally. So instead of telling them what to say, what's the right thing to say, that's a very left brain thought pattern, by the way. And that'll just turn a woman off. It'll kind of irritate her, to be honest with you. So men will come to me and say, well, what's the right thing to say? I go, you're already wrong. I go, you're coming from the wrong perspective. I'm like, well, what do you mean? I go, she doesn't want to hear the right thing that makes her happy. She wants to hear what you believe, what you think, what do you feel. You know, if you like a woman, it's like a lot of guys, oh, you're beautiful. She wants to hear what do you find beautiful about her? What about her attracts you? And then she needs you to describe it in a more descriptive, in-depth way, because that's how she can understand you. So instead of telling you what to say to memorize a bunch of canned lines, all I'm doing is teaching you how to speak her language so you can communicate it in a way that she can understand you. So now instead of memorizing a bunch of stuff, you just learn how to communicate what you're thinking and what you're feeling and what you believe in a way that she can relate and understand. That simplifies everything. I literally teach you how to speak in her language and process that language in a way that her brain can process. That's it. So now you can speak freely. It's exactly like learning how to speak Spanish fluently, then going to Mexico and just telling them what you think, what you feel, without going, let me go to this book. What does the book say to say? That's like the external stuff. Like there's millions of things you can say. Instead of like memorizing stuff, you're just going, well, what are you feeling in the moment? And then communicate from that perspective. It's the same thing on the football field. The coach right now is going, well, it's 3rd and 4 yards to go. You know, we got 2 minutes left in the game, and you just go, boom, this is what we got to do. I've got 3 plays or 4 plays that can do that. Which one's best depending on their defense, depending on what they've been doing all day, and boom, you know what to do. Because otherwise, you're just guessing. And even if it did work, you don't know why. So you repeat the same thing in another game or with another girl and it didn't work. And you're like, well, that's weird. It worked with the other girl. It worked with the team last week. I don't understand. Yeah, exactly. Because you don't understand. That's my point. So when it comes to my teaching, my coaching, regardless of whether it's dating, relationships, especially narcissist abuse. In fact, let me put it this way. When you come to my channel, I would rather have you realize I'm teaching you core patterns versus going, here's what to do, here's what not to do. Because if you see the core patterns, even if I haven't told you what to do, not to do, if you're in a situation where like, hey, you know, no book, no videos told me what to do in this situation, you'll know what to do because it's a core pattern. And then you can see it. It reveals itself. All right, so let me read this off. Something I wrote about an hour ago. It says, core teachings versus taking advice. The difference in core teachings versus advice is advice can be confusing, toxic, and will leave you twisting in the wind. That's why I don't like to give advice very often. I teach you to see the core patterns and make a decision for yourself coming from a place of knowing versus do I say this? Should I do this? What's the advice here? It's like it clarifies everything and it makes life a lot simpler. And people are going to start looking at you like you're this genius in this field. And you're like, well, no, it's actually very simple. So you're coming from this place that this is really simple. All I'm doing is A, B, C, D, E, and sometimes F if necessary. That's it. Where all these other people are reading all these books, memorizing all these things, and they're spinning in circles. And sometimes it works. Sometimes it's like rolling the dice. I don't like to roll the dice. I want to know. That was a very vague video. If you followed along, good job. Alright guys, this is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com. If you like this video, please click subscribe, click the like button, go ahead and make a comment. And if you like, there's a donation button or a PayPal link right there in the description box. God bless you guys. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.